Welcome to Flip Your Lid with Kim Honeycutt. Kim is a psychotherapist and executive director of ICU Talks, a mental health speaking ministry. This is a podcast about how to flip your lid and learning how to reconnect to who you really are.
Hey friends, I got a really cool woman with me today. She and I have a lot in common, but she's smarter than I am, so I'm about to get schooled. So let me tell you about Kelli Underwood. She's an LCSW. She's a seasoned speaker, consultant, and psychotherapist, specializing in the field of trauma since 1996. She was 5 at that time, y'all. Kelli inspires and changes her clients' desire personally, professionally, and organizationally. She cultivates dynamic trainings and speaking experiences with her charisma, contagious energy, her skillfulness, and teaching you how to create sustainable change. Kelli facilitates training with organizations, various groups, schools, school systems, and individuals on a wide range of topics. Kelli was the director of child and family programs at Chicago at the Center For Contextual Change for 15 years and an adjunct faculty member at the University of Chicago's Master's in Social Work program for 7 years. Prior to her launching her own business in 2013, she specialized in facilitating healing from all forms of traumatic experiences, children, adolescents, adults, couples, and families. She does it all. And she strives to help those affected by trauma to be able to have the tools they need to live healthy and fulfilling lives. She provides powerful healing retreats and trainings in transformative insight imagery, a holistic healing technique. Her techniques and unique ability to connect with people at all stages on their healing journey have earned her praise from her peers and clients alike. And I got to tell you, it's earned my praise as well. So Kelli, welcome to Flip Your Lid.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here with your audience, Kim. You have a fantastic thing going here.
Well, I appreciate that. I love my people that listen, and they're hungry. They're hungry. And so I know you're one of those people that's been on a quest in life to get as much information, modalities, knowledge that fits your spirit.
Yes.
And that way you have such a wide range that you're providing for just about anybody that's ready.
Yes.
Or maybe not, maybe even pre-ready.
Pre-ready. Yes.
Yeah, even that. So all right. So thank you for being here. You know where we start off, and we'll just see where this goes. But I'd like to know what experience, event flipped your lid, and what measure did you take to reconnect to your true self?
Well, I have thought about this question because it is a famous Kim Honeycutt.
That's awesome.
And I thought you might ask it.
Right.
And I thought, I really struggled because I don't know if anybody out there can relate to this, but I think I have flipped my lid a lot of times.
Amen.
And I think it has been a series, a very long book with many chapters of flipping my lid, and each one taking me on a little detour, curvy road to connecting to myself a little more. Right. And I'm a big fan of we are lifelong learners. Yeah. But I'm going to tell you about the earliest one that I think flipped my lid and got me on the path that I'm on with healing myself and others. And that was when I was in high school. And I didn't really realize it at the time, but I was clinically depressed. And I really didn't know how to get through life at that time. Strange to say, but when we're young and we have so much ahead of us, but we can't see that, right? So what I did was I begged my family to let me see a counselor.
Wow.
Yeah. Small town, rural Indiana.
Yeah.
Counseling was not anything in my parents growing up. It wasn't something they were familiar with. It wasn't something they really believed in, but they agreed to let me go.
Yeah.
I was a senior in high school, so I drove myself to counseling, and it changed my life.
Wow.
And I remember they gave me the Master's in Social Work student intern as my counselor. And I was sitting with her in my 3rd session. Never in my life had I experienced feeling so seen, heard, accepted for right where I was. And I remember leaving, getting in my car and crying and saying, tears of joy. I said, that's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I'm going to be her.
Wow.
I'm going to be her. I'm going to do the work to get more whole myself. And this is what I want to do with my life. And so 5 years later, believe it or not, I was in the same MSW program.
Wow.
That counselor had inspired me.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm telling you, the resiliency in that, to be able to know it's not in your parents' wheelhouse, and you still said, this is what I need. And the way you just described all your emotional needs being met, being seen and heard. How important is it that we get seen?
Yes.
It's vital. It's vital.
Yes.
So many of us are so invisible in our childhood for a variety of reasons. And not only did you go and you got fed and you got loved on, but I love how spiritually things come back together. Yes. You got to be in the same MSW program.
Yes.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yes.
Was that program in Chicago?
No, it was the Masters of Social Work program that is still there at Indiana University. It used to be Indiana, Purdue University in Indianapolis.
Gotcha. Okay.
In Indianapolis. Yeah, it was the only MSW program at that time in the whole state.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So that really flipped your lid.
Yes.
I mean, that really did. Yeah.
Yes.
That's amazing. And so at what point, so you're getting your MSW, you start moving, like, how do you figure out, because of what your therapist used, a modality might not be in what was for you professionally, right? Like, how did you figure out your modality? How did you figure out how to get grounded in what worked for you?
I think that was really a long journey of, you have to have more confidence. I had no confidence in myself when I was, going to bachelor's social work, master's social work. I didn't have a lot of confidence. I really was, no joke, my own worst enemy in my own head.
Oh, absolutely. Sure.
I say to my clients, we have mean girls back in middle school who've taken up housing inside our head and our body, and they just continue to beat us up every day. Yeah. So for me, I think a lot of the journey was very much that parallel process. The more I worked on myself, the more I did healing work for myself, the more I found modalities that I was passionate about and that aligned with who I was and my skills, right? So, I think a lot of what that first experience was really active listening and cognitive behavioral therapy. And I've really moved, I'm much more of an experiential, very eclectic, using imagery, using all sorts of now physiological somatic techniques to help people interrupt the patterns in the body and the nervous system. So it's a long journey of, as long as you're open and you're always seeking the next thing that's going to help you. I'm a big believer in having a wide menu of options for my clients, because different things work for different people.
Yeah. I love the words you're using, and it may just sound silly, but like just the idea of the menu, just the idea of the openness that it takes. And so I'm going to tell you, like, this was my issue with MSW school. And you can tell me if you had an issue. Part of my issue was I was told who I was going to be. I was told I would never make money. I covered my ears every time they said that. Because I knew I wasn't going to do something and not do well financially. Like, what's the point? That's just me. So I didn't believe that. But I really got told that I was the modality and not to step outside of it. And I can promise you, all my patients will tell you that there are a lot of chemisms that come into the session, and that's comfortable for them.
Yes.
Like, they don't need to see a robot. And so I'm just curious, did you get taught that kind of thing when you were going through?
It's been so long since I was in MSW school. I want to be fair and accurate because I'm blurring it with my time as an adjunct faculty teaching MSW students.
I see. Yeah.
And lots of clients that I've had who are also counselors and therapists. So to be fair, I think you're hitting on one of my buttons with school programs for counselors. And I'm not speaking to all the programs, but I think I have had many interns ask me this question about how much do I get to be myself?
Yes. It's a great question. Just the fact that they ask it's great.
Right. Yeah. Because they've gotten very different messages. And the reality is there are very different belief systems out there among all types of therapists, psychotherapists, counselors, about how much you bring yourself into the room, how much you share, self-disclosure, all of that stuff.
Right.
I am sorry that you got that message, and I feel that is not uncommon, unfortunately,
Right.
to get that message. I wonder if they sort of want to err on the side of caution and they overdo it for students who are new to the field because they'd rather them not overstep.
Right, sure.
But in doing that around our ethics, they unfortunately sometimes people get the message that they are the modality, and it's about, first and foremost, it's about bringing all of who you are.
That's right.
And creating a relationship that is one of the most unique kinds of intimate relationships. You know,
100%.
You can't do that if you're not real.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, so you and I now know, like, our job when someone walks in, or even we're doing a training, right? Because I do a lot of trainings, is to be in ventral vagal, right? To be in that place of connection. And so to be fresh out of school, that's hard to do. But just to even have the wording for it, of knowing that we have to be connected to self.
Yes.
So that the person in front of us can be connected. And the more you know yourself, you know when to joke, you know when to do self-disclosure.
Yes.
When to cuss, or when to pray for somebody.
Yes.
Right? Because it's based on them from a place of your own personal connection.
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't learn that in school, but I did learn it. Yeah.
And we have to learn it somewhere, because unfortunately it leads to burnout and people leaving the field. If they don't figure it out or get it somewhere.
Right. Is that one of your specialties, compassion fatigue?
Yes. I love talking about compassion fatigue.
Go on, girl. Talk about it. Do it.
Well, I love the idea of the people who know way more than me and have done the research and studied energy management. One of my favorites is the book, The Power of Full Engagement. And these two fellows studied elite athletes, which I find fascinating. You imagine your job studying elite athletes from a psychology perspective.
Right.
And I'm really oversimplifying what they found, but basically they discovered that the only predictable variable between two relatively equal athletes was who rested and recovered best.
Yeah. I've heard that. That's amazing.
So I really try to bring this to all the facets of my work with people, because again, if you know, when I walk into a room of a training or onto a screen or into my office with a client, the reality is that person, those people that are there with me, are pinging off of my energy. And I have to that's a big responsibility. Right.
Yeah, it is.
And so the better I manage my energy, the more capacity I have to take care of other people.
Yeah.
So I love to talk to people who give care for a living about the fact that if you're not taking good care of yourself, but you think you're doing a great job with everybody else, you kind of have it backwards.
Right. Yeah, it's really true.
I mean, this is why they tell us on the airplane, right, that you have to put your own oxygen mask on first.
Yeah.
Because what we do is we keep trying to help everybody else, and then we pass out on the floor because we got no oxygen.
Right. Right. And that's considered glorious. That's considered noble to pass on the floor.
Exactly.
I think that's a big disservice we do to people, that we honor that.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, it's very much. A lot of people who go into this field, one, have spent time in their own trauma. They spent their time in fawning, meaning like there's a codependency, the people pleasing. And so they become a therapist. Like there's a commonality with that.
Yes. Yes.
And so that's definitely a part of the crowd I'm sure you're training and helping. And there's people like me who don't fall into that.
Right.
Who don't have a lot of feelings, and it's actually advantageous for me. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
So, because I don't know if you know about the Enneagram, but I'm an 8, and so the last thing I do is feel. I think, and then I might feel something, right? And I'm very much an aggressive stance. So when someone's going through something, I know it's them going through it. I don't make it about me.
Oh wow.
Right. And that's why I've had no compassion fatigue. That's my secret.
That's
right
amazing.
There. Right. Yeah.
I love how you just explained that. And I love how you brought in the Enneagram, because I'm always promoting the Enneagram.
Yes.
I was actually hoping to go to Chicago to go to one of the big trainings on the Enneagram before the pandemic hit. But that was really great. I think that will probably help a lot of other 8s out there.
Yeah.
And people who aren't 8s. You know, this is my big thing. We are all different. We have so much in common. I wish we could feel more love and support in how much we share in being human. But then can we also just really respect and honor that we're all individually different? And we really need to listen for how things work for someone else and not make assumptions about that.
And that's the beauty of what you said. When we do our own work, I can recognize someone sees and hears differently.
Yes.
And so I can craft it towards them. But it's also finding a person that will craft it towards me, that I hear and see things differently.
Yes.
Right?
And that there's nothing wrong with that.
Not at all. That like it's you don't want to date or marry yourself.
Oh no.
Right? There's got to be a little bit of something going on, a little spice, right?
Well, and one of my teachers at the Center for Contextual Change was the founder, Mary Jo Barrett, and she really taught us in her model of how change happens that every single quality that you or others use to describe yourself is both a vulnerability and an asset.
That's good.
I love to think of it as all of our qualities are a two-sided coin.
Mm-hmm.
And if you put me in one situation, me being a very intense person or having over-focused ADD, which I do, is wonderful when you're a psychotherapist.
Right.
Because you are everything in the room and nothing exists, right?
Right.
But if you put me in another task that involves multitasking, I'm going to bomb.
Right.
That's a real vulnerability for me to have over-focused ADD.
Yeah.
So every quality can be a strength. It's really about when and how. And I just feel like that's a real empowering message for people. Like, it's not about getting rid of something about who you are. It's about learning how to use it as a strength.
That's right. How to find the self in it.
Yes.
Right. So that it's not a defense mechanism. It's actually authentic. You know when to use it, when not to use it.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. That's good. Can you put your words on change? Because people can hear that and hear it in such a benign way, but it's powerful.
You just nailed one of the biggest things I try to say about change.
Really? I did?
Yeah. You did. Because, I want to hear other people's definition of change because I want to start with what your definition is, not mine, first of all. But second of all, you're right. I think the biggest problem with what I call sustainable change versus just change, right? Like, I want to eat healthier. I want to exercise more, something simple. I want to stop, leaving that pile of clothes on the floor over there. Something real simple.
Right.
But the problem is we don't give value to the incremental progress we make. We don't notice it. We don't have a vision, a muscle in our eyeballs and our body to notice, hey, I didn't do it that time.
Right. Right.
And so then it makes it really hard to make change stick because we get in our way. We get in our own way all over the place and we sabotage ourselves.
Right.
And part of that is because we just think it's all not a big deal. Well, so, but 9 times I forgot to do it, Kelli, they tell me. And I say, but I want to talk about the time you didn't do it that way.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Because if we know the recipe for how to do what works for you, we don't really have the problem anymore, do we?
It's a good point.
If we keep doing what works.
Right.
But our culture trains us to notice and perseverate on what's not working.
Right.
And what's making us sick and what feels terrible. And understandably, we're all sort of wired to knee jerk into that. I mean, how many times you ask somebody about a strength or a positive or what went well that week, and 30 seconds into it, they're telling you about what went wrong.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
And don't have the awareness that they have a negative subjective bias, that they don't even know they went there, and how draining it is to hear that.
Yeah. And so this is not a judgment. Listen, I'm guilty of it too. I have worked my tail off to get the negative voices to shut up.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
And they still make appearances regularly. But the key is when you have supportive people in your life who can help you develop the ability to notice what works, notice when you were successful, and really keep supporting you, encouraging you. That's what shifts it into that sustainable change. It may be that other things stuck and you just didn't notice, but now you're noticing.
Right.
Now you're noticing, oh my gosh, I really don't do that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, what does remind me of? Like, I'll have people come in, and maybe I've seen them for a year, and I have Kleenex, just like I'm sure you do, strategically placed throughout the room, right? And it's in the same place, has to be in the same place. Because when people walk in a therapist's office, like there needs to be structure. Things need to be the same for people, right? So I'll have people I'll see for a year, and after a year they'll walk in and they'll go, oh, you have Kleenex today. And that means something has shifted in them, something has changed, and they now can notice something else. But they can't tell me what changed. They just now have an observation, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Well, that reminds me of, I recently completed the training of Steve Terrell, and you may know he and Kathy Kane have that great new book out, Nurturing Resilience.
Right.
And he does really great work on trauma healing. And he told us one day in our training that somebody asked, how do you know when somebody's getting more capacity in their nervous system, when they're getting more regulated physiologically?
Right.
And he said, well, let me give you an example. He said, I have a 6 foot by 4 foot painting that hangs on a wall in my office, and it's been there for 10 years or longer. And when somebody starts to come in to being more embodied and having more moments of settled, I'll call it. He said, my client walked in and said, oh my gosh, you got a new painting.
Right. That's right.
And and he said, well, it's been there, but I'm so glad you're noticing.
Yeah.
Because what happens is our vision can open up more, right? We can, if we're not so anxious or stressed or self-conscious, our vision narrows.
Yeah, that's right.
Our window of tolerance is narrow. I'm going to look at the one safe thing in the room, which is probably you. If I'm in your office, Kim, I'm going to look at you, and I may not be able to take the room in.
Right.
And so he said that. And do you know, within the next 2 weeks, I had 3 clients come in and notice things that had been there. And then they got kind of mad at me when I tried to say they had been there. So I just said, oh, you know what? Maybe that is new.
Right. Let's go with that.
It's new to you. It's new.
That's the thing, though. It's new to them. And that's
right.
That's the change. That's what you are a part of. You're teaching people how it's new, right? And that you notice that the grass is green.
Yes.
That's a true thing that you won't notice. You won't tell. Can you talk a little bit more? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And if I do notice, am I just dismissing it? Because our job is to go, wait. Don't dismiss that.
Right.
That's an important moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be in that green grass for just a moment before we move on here. Because that's good. That's good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's part of being an attuned therapist, is that if someone walks in and they say, hey, I'm tired, that's where we're going to start.
That's right.
Like, people say things intentionally around you. And so it's figuring out which path to take and giving them the option which path to say. But people don't say things just to say them.
That is a great statement.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I love the other statement. It was written by the folks who wrote The Explosive Noncompliant Child, Ross Greene and Dr. Ablon. But, children do well if they can.
Ah, that's good.
And if they're not doing well, something's getting in the way.
Right. Something's going on.
And our job as the grown-ups is to be the detective and figure out what's getting in the way.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's just amazing. Yeah. How do you transition from working with a child to working with a couple or working with a 60-year-old? What do you do differently? How do you interact with that?
I think it must have something to do with my Enneagram number. I don't know. I'm a 4, but I think I came out of the womb loving and needing and hungry for diversity and not wanting too much of the same thing. So it works for me because it's an adventure.
Right.
And when you move from a couple to a child to something totally different the next hour, and what people need, each hour is a very different choreographed dance of attachment and need. Yeah. And so I love that. I feel like it makes you use all parts of your brain, your body, and your spirit. Everything's got to be present, and you've got to be open to what the need of the moment is.
Yeah, that's so good.
I love it, but it's very different energy. I really feel, and I do a lot of training for therapists who see children. I started out in my career seeing, 80, 90% kids with complex trauma in the child welfare system. And that is a different kind of depletion at the end of the day. It's a very different kind of depletion.
Yeah, and that's the word, depletion. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love your answer to that. And I love that you're a 4. Besides 8s, 4s are my favorite. I think I'm the best. You're second best.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
See, that's a high compliment coming from an 8, right?
Yes, that is I don't think there's a higher compliment from any Enneagram number. Wow.
That's a great
I'm
point.
a little, woo.
That's awesome.
An 8 likes me.
That's
awesome.
right. I love 4s. 4s are great. I love
we need approval. So this is...
you need approval. What's so interesting to me is that y'all are so into your feelings, and I'm so not, and yet I'm drawn to people who are able to do and have a capacity for what I don't. Mm-hmm. But can do it safely without.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Like there's balance. It's not about being in your excess of your number. I'm talking about 4s like you that are wonderful and balanced. So it's good. It's good energy. It's good to be around.
Well, thank you. And I think we make a nice balance in our strengths.
Yes, that's a good way of putting it.
We can learn a lot from each other.
Yes, that's a very, very true statement.
Yes.
So I'd love to learn from you, speaking of learning, about transformative insight imagery.
Oh, I am just tickled pink you asked about it. I love it.
Yay.
I'm gonna tell you the truth. This is my story. Transformative insight imagery was one of the biggest, probably in my whole life, flip your lid moments. I mean, it has just, I have a little video on my website that talks about just really candidly my experience of walking into the first Transformative Insight Imagery workshop that I went to in Dr. Charlotte Smith's home in Chicago. And she really just did it in Chicago for 25, 30 years. And it was life-changing. I would say 99% of people who experience TII go, wow, I am really blown away, because all the different things, I'm always getting trained in things. I'm always trying to learn new ways to help people. But TII is really foundational for me because all of the images in transformative insight imagery come from the imager. So it's not guided imagery. Okay. Which is very different. It's not hypnosis. You're, awake. You may close your eyes. You may keep your eyes open. But we're really bridging different levels of the conscious with the unconscious. And, early on, people called other forms of this like wakeful dreaming, kind of. But what's really fantastic about it is it's the process of doing TII imaging is empowering. It actually teaches you how to trust yourself. Wow. So the thing that I love about it so much is people learn how to use it on their own without a therapist. And they learn that their answers and the resources are inside of them. That's right. That's good. So they're finding their own strengths, learning how to connect to it, learning how to access it and use it at the right moment in their life. And I just don't think there's a greater gift you can give somebody than a greater sense of trusting themselves. Right. A greater sense of I can listen to me and my resources, and they're right here and they're with me all the time. I don't have to go see Kelli to get that resource. Yeah. I think that's the beauty of TII. And I also think it's wonderful that it's both a stabilizing technique and a transformative technique. So we spend a lot of time working on developing your resources. So you find a quiet retreat place that's your center, that becomes your home base. You may have multiple centers. You actually meet your right and left brain. Yeah. You learn how to bring greater balance to them. And then you begin to see some ripple effects. I have some stories that I'm writing in the book that I hope will be out next year for TII. I have some crazy stories about what people have experienced when they really started attuning to their brain and the ripple effects that start to happen in their life. And then we meet our own guides and mentors in whatever form they appear. And how wonderful when you haven't always had a sense of connection or wisdom or support. And then people are always shocked on who or what appears. Childhood pets, grandparents, a coach, a Boy Scout troop leader that was, life-changing for someone. Sometimes it's a spiritual. Many, many clients have had Jesus appear. Right. And talk to them. I mean, people really can be moved spiritually in
Right.
TII. And so after we develop the resources, we really work on how to use the resources. It's unbelievable. And then we move into people experiencing in the healing retreats or the trainings for therapists, the 8-step process of facilitating people into transformative healing. So people can go back into an event, a blocking belief, a physical ailment, maybe they're having headaches, maybe they have neck tension. We can do a lot. And it's all about, we can't change what's happened factually, right? But what we do in TII is we transform how we hold it.
That's right. How we interact with it, right?
How we hold it, right? So one example, a client years ago came in and had lost her childhood pet, was devastated, and was a young adult and had a lot of changes happening at once, was really kind of going through some traumatic stuff. We went in to her center, gathered her guides and mentors, and I asked her if a new resource or support might be there. Her puppy showed up, her beloved dog.
Oh, that's amazing.
And in TII, you are blown away by the experience of all 5 of your senses open up. She could see her dog. She could feel his fur. And he gave her the gift of his collar. And I'll never forget, she had been having panic attacks, and she could feel the collar. She could smell the collar, smelled like her dog, even though this was all in imagery. And she ended up using that gift over the next couple weeks to really help her, not only to let her grieve, but it really became this support that when she felt the collar, she thought about the collar, she felt that love and comfort from her dog.
Right.
And the same client also got a quilt from her grandmother. And we would use the imagery. She would have the quilt come and rest it on her chest. The quilt was full of the unconditional love and acceptance of her grandmother.
Yeah.
And every time she put that quilt on her chest, she would stop her panic attacks.
Yeah.
So these are embodied, deeply felt experiences that come from the imager. Right? I can have a room of 20 people and facilitate them to find their center, and I may have 20 different centers that appear.
Right. Sure.
And then the 8-step process is just profound. The all versatile, very, very versatile, and can be integrated. I integrate TII with just about every other approach and technique that I use. And I think people really find it to be safe. They feel in control. They feel like it's their choice what they do, where they go.
Right.
And that's a game changer, right?
Yeah, it sounds like you get, because so much of what gets people to walk in our doors is that things are unfinished. There's unfinished business. Like they don't even know that they are literally stuck in their bodies, right? There's a memory stuck in their bodies. It sounds like it allows them to finish what got started.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I have been able to integrate it well with Steve Terrell's work, with somatic experiencing, even with EMDR. And I've had body workers come and use TII very effectively. It's just a very versatile thing. And very few people are not willing or open to doing some imagery.
Right. Well, one key thing you said for me, and probably for part of our audience, is you said, I don't have to close my eyes. Because the minute someone, especially someone I don't know very well, tells me to close my eyes, I'm going to look and see where my purse is. I'm going to close one eye, have my fist up. Right? Like, it's just not going to work out.
Yes.
Right? Because you can't start that way for imagery.
No.
So just to give someone permission to still get there with their eyes open, I think that's powerful.
Always have to have permission and choice.
Yeah, that's right.
And you can change your mind.
Yeah.
You can say, this isn't working for me. I want to go this way. Or, you get to always change your mind. And that is very contrary to trauma.
Right. It sounds like there's some similarities. It reminds me of EMDR, except it sounds more interactive. EMDR bores me. Yes. Everybody knows that. It just bores me. I'm certified in it. It does not excite me at all. But the beauty is still in it, right? The reprocessing and reprogramming that we need is still very vital. But this sounds so much more of imaginative.
Yes.
Yeah, I really like that.
Yes. Dr. Charlotte Smith did her dissertation on the TII as she was developing it. And she found that folks who were doing the imagery, she put full cap EEGs on them. Mm-hmm. And she found that they had much greater balance.
Like physical balance.
Yeah, balance between the right and the left brain was occurring. It was less asymmetrical than the control group.
Right.
And she also found that there were actually new pathways opening as people were doing like the free brain travel, that all parts of the brain started lighting up. So it's pretty exciting. I would love to have someone do research again on it now, knowing what we know now, and see what they would find about it.
Yeah, that's just so powerful. I don't share this a whole lot, but when I did work with Dr. Richard Schwartz for internal family systems, I got to work directly with him. He's amazing. And they did very similar what you're talking about, the guides and mentors. And so I had a guide showed up, and she still shows up. She lives in my jaw. I know that sounds strange. I don't care. It's my truth. And she's me at age 8, but she's got a cape on, and she keeps her hands on her hips. And she doesn't tolerate anything, and she will advocate for me so fast. And that was probably, 15, 16 years ago I worked with Dr. Schwartz and got trained by him. And she still shows up for me. It's really powerful. It's really powerful.
My 8-year-old Kelli wants to be friends.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Yeah. We can fly around together.
Yes. And one of the first things we do is go and free a lost self.
Yes. That's it. That's it.
And that has been, talk about flipping my lid. The first time I found a little Kelli, I was just blown away to have your current self be able to say, look at what we've done. Look at where we've gone. Look at how resilient we are. Look at what we're doing.
Right. And be able to get current.
Oh yeah. That's big in healing trauma, getting unfrozen in time and bringing it into present.
Right.
Yeah, I love that. I love the picture of your 8-year-old.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's great.
My Kelli in the 8-year-old was wearing a pink sweatsuit and had a little ponytail. And I think I was trying to learn how to do the long jump when I found her.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just symbolic, right? Yes. In the long jump. Just think how meaningful that is. You know? Yeah. Right. That is so great. Yeah. So if you're listening to this and don't really know about inner children, not inner child, but inner children work, one of the lies we have out there is that your past is your past. That is proven scientifically it's not true. It's proven through your behavior it's not true. That there are parts of us that are stuck, and so our ability to be able to go in and learn how to regulate differently and get unfrozen and move out of your dorsal vagal, which people spend a lot of time in and don't realize it is life-giving.
Yes.
Yeah, you just got to be with someone trained like Kelli who knows what they're doing.
Yes.
Right.
That's important.
Very, very important. Yeah. So you've done a lot of somatic work. It sounds like you got a lot of somatic tools and regulation of emotions that you're teaching people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is there anything particular along that when you're dealing with somebody with trauma that you're finding more success in, certain somatic tools that you're using?
Oh my gosh, it has been another game changer, in my 3-4 year career.
Right. Being
able to track another person and noticing what's happening in my own body first, right? Tracking my own nervous system states.
Right.
And noticing where someone else is and helping them. It's really about growing this capacity, but the somatic tools have been really amazing. I do a lot of consulting with schools and school districts. And so one of the things that I was really frustrated about was there's a lot of tools that schools, well-meaning, well-intentioned, trying to help kids with behavior problems. But the kids don't remember them and they don't use them.
Yeah.
Right? You can have the best tool in the world, but if it doesn't work for the person you're delivering it to, no change happens, right? So I have found that the somatic tools, all ages, remember them and use them.
Wow. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. You think your audience wants to learn one or two?
I think that'd be great. I would love for you to do that.
Okay. So let's, I apologize in advance. I'm going to have you think of something a little stressful, but I promise I'm going to get you to a better place if you go with me on it. Okay.
That's a good promise.
Okay. So I want you to think about something that's medium stressful. So if we had a scale of 1 to 10 stressful, just start with something that's like a 5. A person, a relationship, an activity, a task, something that gets you a little stressed.
All right.
You got it?
Yeah.
All right. So now I just want you to kind of use a little imagery, let yourself see this stressful thing, hear it, feel it, kind of just connect to it for a moment so that you can notice how the stress starts to show up in your body. And where you start to notice it. Do your thoughts get faster? Definitely notice what happens with the breathing. Does it get shorter or more shallow? And then where else do you start to feel the stress coming in? Okay?
Yeah, I got it.
Now, stay with it and check where your tongue is. So for most people, your tongue is either in the roof of your mouth if you're stressed, or it's pushed into the back of your teeth somewhere, or it's kind of tight. There's some contracting going on, right? So if you think about the stressful thing again, feel the tongue, notice what's going on, keep it tight and I'm going to count down 3, 2, 1, and we're going to stop thinking about the stressful thing, and I want you to relax your tongue. So I call it putting the tongue to bed. Let it relax down. Say, good night, tongue. And then the next step is to try to let your jaw relax with your tongue. Some of us, it's very hard to relax our tongue. If I relax my tongue and my jaw starts to relax, it's going to look like I'm a baby drooling. Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
And then get really quiet for about 10 seconds and see if you notice what happens. Takes a little practice, but you may have felt a little pulsing or a little feeling of it getting a little quieter in there. People feel it very differently in a sensory world. So some people are very sensate, some people it's very different. But what literally happened physiologically, whether you realize it or not, is the minute you relaxed your tongue, your blood pressure dropped, your heart rate dropped, your muscles started to relax. So you were in a little bit of a sympathetic stress response. And the tongue relaxing sends a signal. I call it tapping the brakes on the accelerator, right? Sent you a little bit more into parasympathetic. So it just slowed you down a little bit. Because the tongue has like 9 cranial nerves in it. So it's a really great GPS for what's really going on with me.
Wow.
So now I have a lot of people go, oh my gosh, I didn't know what I was feeling. I checked my tongue and sure enough, I was stressed.
Wow, that's amazing. I've been doing this as long as you have, since we're the same person pretty much. I've never been taught about the tongue, thought about it when it comes to stress. So I knew you would school me today. I knew you would. So
well, I always want to give thanks to my teachers, because I think it's important to reference where we get our wisdom and not steal it from people.
Yeah, I like taking all credit personally. I'm
going to tell you, Dave Berger was my teacher, Berger from Somatic Experiencing. He's unbelievably knowledgeable, and we learned a lot of great tools in Somatic Experiencing. So if you want to drop your tongue and then go the next level with the combo pack to slow down the stress, then you want to add in what I call the pinwheel breath. And that is, if I had a pinwheel, long, slow from the belly, takes a little practice, to exhale, slow and steady, 8 seconds minimum. This is very hard for us in our culture. So let's try it. You do that with your tongue dropping, and you just, it was like we were speeding down the interstate.
Right.
We're doing 80 and a 65, and now we're doing 68 and a 65, because not many of us actually go 65, let's be honest.
Right.
So that's what we're doing. And then we got other tools we use to do the opposite. When we're too hot, we're a little bit in dorsal vagal, we're a little too shut down, that bring us out.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the skills of even knowing that someone's in dorsal vagal, which is parasympathetic, and getting out of that.
Yes.
I don't think we teach that enough. I don't think people hear about it enough. So
No,
can you give a real quick example how somebody could get out of frozen dorsal vagal?
It's quite a continuum.
Yes.
Dorsal vagal is the most extreme state where somebody is really in like a plain dead state for survival, which is brilliant. When we're talking about bringing somebody out of that state, that is really just a little bit of touching into sensation. It could be as much as, can you feel what your left pinky finger is touching right now? Can you just try to move that pinky finger a little bit, see if you can feel it?
Yeah.
Can you feel maybe the back of the chair on your back? Just notice where it's touching your back. So just really slowly and gently bringing, and then obviously a little more ventral vagal is, would you be willing to see something in the room you're in that's pleasant for you?
Right.
And just tune into something. And a really great one is notice where the door is. Just feel the door and see the door right now.
Right.
That shifts us real quick because we like to know where the door is.
Right.
But when we're talking another tool that we do in the world of dissociation, or trying to come back when we need to come back, because dissociation is a very worthwhile thing that we all do, and it's functional. Right. It's about knowing how to get back when we want to come back, right? So, really great one is we gather our breath and we hold a note that sounds like VU, but we make the sound of a foghorn. Again, this comes from Peter Levine and somatic experiencing. When we make the sound VU, people have a really hard time describing what it feels like, but it's like a vibrance. You're really stimulating your entire vagus nerve. So it sounds like this, if you want to try it with me. And so we hold it. Isn't that a cool feeling?
Yeah. And that's
kind of feel like this. I feel like this in my vagus nerve, which starts way up here and goes all the way down. You feel a little, it's kind of like when you've been like on an elevator or something that's moving too long and you get off and you can still kind of feel it moving.
Right.
That's how it is for me.
Yeah. It's a
great other people really describe it differently.
Right.
But I'll tell you, I have a lot of clients that when they're getting really triggered between sessions, they do a little VU.
I like it.
And we like to VU.
Yeah. So it felt silly. Like the voice came in, a teenager came in, and it felt silly, and it still worked in my body.
There you go. That's what people tell me every time.
It still works. So even if you don't do VU, even if just hum.
Yes,
humming is a great thing that gets you back into ventral vagal, gets you back into connection. That's to do with your vagus nerve is running completely through pretty much most of your body.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. And so I was going to ask you how you're using polyvagal theory, which is a lot of what you just talked about in session, but you just told us. Like you just described it really well.
I'm going to give a shout out because I just got a new book that I'm using with clients too. Polyvagal exercises.
That's Deb Dana. I have that book and other books by her. She's fantastic.
Yeah, she's great. And she's got some really great stuff to help people begin to learn the different states, to learn to notice where they are.
To know the ladder, where you are on the ladder, right? To really learn that. Yeah.
I'm so glad you're talking about this stuff.
Oh, I love polyvagal. I just can't find people who want to talk about it with me. So I'm so excited right now. I love polyvagal. And this is what I found interesting. My patients pick up on it quicker than I did.
Really?
Like I had to study it.
I did too.
I had to study. They were like, oh, I get that. Oh, that makes sense. I explained to them story follow state. They're like, oh, that makes perfect sense. I'm like, y'all are phenomenal. They get it.
Yeah. Wow. That's fantastic. Yeah. I think what helped me was when I heard from Dave Berger the analogy of the accelerator of the mobilization system and the sympathetic nervous system is like, going too fast, accelerating when it's dysregulated. Yeah. And when he explained that when we're too high in parasympathetic, it's like we're riding the brake.
Yes.
And so when I teach like educators and other folks, I use that, and that really helps people start to wrap around it, And I'm like, so what if we just like slid into cruise control a little more, right?
Right.
Isn't that nice when you hit that sweet spot? And, I'm from Indiana, so you can cruise all day long on the flat land of Indiana, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I explained the same thing you're saying is that frozen and calm look the same.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. So both, dorsal vagal and ventral vagal can look the same. You have to know your body to know the difference. And we are taught to only live neck up.
Yes. Yes, we are. Yeah. Unfortunately.
And there's a lot of trauma. There's a lot, and there's brilliance in your body. Your body has perfect memory. It can really help you know
how to
handle situations. And so part of why, it's so important to listen to our gut. But if you have trauma, you don't have connection to your gut. You don't have gut instinct. You have trauma responses.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. And it's like you're doing such a wonderful job of teaching people all of it mixed in together.
Well, I think you are too. I would say one more little soapbox for me is I get real upset and I don't quite know where to put it. I've had so many clients who have tried to get help from other practitioners, there are so many great ones, so I'm not meaning to rip on anybody, but they maybe go to a primary care doctor, or they go to a chiropractor, or they go to some other kind of medical person some of them are really, really good at what they're doing. Really good, but they haven't been trained in trauma. And so I have clients come back dissociated completely in their trauma symptoms because of what you just said. They don't know the difference. The practitioner does not know the difference between calm and dissociation.
Yeah, it's very true.
And so they think the person's just fine, and the person is completely dissociated.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So I just wish there was a little more educating in all kinds of fields about this, because this it's so powerful, it's so helpful. It can really change people's lives to have not only a psychotherapist who understands it, but other practitioners who understand it and can be attuned.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just to imagine an entire family all speaking polyvagal, all speaking somatic, right? Like how different, there wouldn't be fights. It would be, let's all say VU, right? It would be so different, because you would have agency over yourself, and then there would be such a connection in that.
Yep. Before we have this conversation, Kim, we're going to baby drool. Let's baby drool before we talk.
Baby drool all the time. So the last thing I want to say about ventral vagal and dorsal vagal is for everybody to hear this, and because this helped me to hear this, is that ventral vagal is immobilization, but without fear. It's that moment where you are possibly just watching TV with your husband, wife, friend, and you still feel really connected, and you're just sitting still and relaxed, or you're in bed and you're cuddling to steer on each other and you're totally at peace.
Yes.
With dorsal vagal, you're immobilized, but it's with fear. Yeah. It's with fear. Yeah. Very different. Yeah. Very, very different. And so the more we learn about that, the more we can actually be connected to self and actually then be connected in relationships.
I love that. Thank you for saying that. I would add that many people that I know have experienced what you just described with their pets.
Yes, because the oxytocin is so strong.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's such a tactile experience to, rub your dog's belly or pet your kitty.
Or get some kisses from that puppy. That's some good kisses, Kelly.
Yes.
Just saying, some good stuff there.
Yes.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yes. Well, you're an excellent practitioner. We're going to end with putting you in the hot seat.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, you're going in the therapy hot seat. So I'm going to ask you
let me get my regulation on.
Get ready. Get regulated. We can co-regulate together.
My cruise control here.
Right. So I'm going to ask you just some simple questions, silly questions, and first word that comes to mind is all yours. All right.
Should I censor or not censor? Because this could get interesting.
This is the Kim Honeycutt show. No censoring.
Okay, I'm ready.
Yeah. Okay. All right. What word comes to mind first when you hear the word perception?
Gosh. Ugh. Everybody's personal truth.
Personal truth. That's really good. Most normal thing about you?
I don't know.
You're a 4, so I don't think you can answer this.
I don't have any idea what's normal about me. Oh, God. That's hilarious. Wow. I mean, I think I've become even more of a homebody from this pandemic.
Right.
I'm pretty ordinary.
All right. Okay.
I'm just a regular person.
Most interesting phobia to you?
Oh, that I have?
Whether you have or just that you know about. What phobias out there?
I think I need to own my own. There's some, it's now funny, but yeah, I can have a fear of heights. Mm-hmm. I came to Charlotte. And did that place with the water, the whitewater rafting.
Yeah.
And, you get up. You
zip line. You did zip line.
I did the zip line, but I did that rope thing where you're walking up the air and they say you're safe. Yeah, I froze. They didn't know what to do with me. I got so stuck up there. I was terrified. Like I kept telling my brain, "You're not going to fall." Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get a little terrified of heights. No joke.
Gotcha. All right, so that's yours. All right, so good. All right, what is your dream vacation?
Oh, I'm working on it right now. I want so badly to go to Europe. I want to go to Tuscany. I want to go to Florence. I really want to go to Norway or Denmark. I really want to go check out Europe.
All right, that sounds great. That's definitely a 4 thing. Love all the creativity in that.
I'm glad I am living up to the 4s.
You're the best. All right. If you had to give yourself a new name, what would it be?
Oh. When I was a kid, I don't know why, I felt like Kelly was a little too common, so I wanted to be Kayla.
Kayla. I like that name.
I wanted to be Kayla.
All right. Kayla it is.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love it. All right, last thing. What does your playlist reveal about you?
That I love diversity, that I embrace everything, and it's very diverse.
I love that. But I have loved this conversation with you.
I have had a great time. Is it really over?
It really is. We're at an hour and people's attention span, they can't handle us.
Oh man, this was a lot. It's a lot on the screen. Thank you all for joining.
Yeah, I appreciate it. This is so good. How would people get in touch with you?
Oh, yes. So exciting news. My new website launched. It is kelliunderwood.com, Kelli. If you spell my name like the ordinary way with a Y, you will not find me. So it has to be kelliunderwood.com. And I'm actually giving away, if you choose to sign up for my newsletter, you will get a free audio CD of Finding Your Center from TII.
Ooh, I'm signing up for that. Your website looks great. Your new ones look so fresh.
So much.
It looks fabulous. It really does. It looks great.
Thank
All right.
you.
Any other Instagram handle? Anything else you want people to know?
Instagram is starting in a week or two. My Instagram and Facebook are Kelli Underwood, LCSW, Licensed Clinical Social Worker. Right. So you can find me on Facebook or Instagram there. And I'm going to be starting a series of posts. Okay.
So by the time this comes out, you will have your Instagram up. Everything will be good. I just ask that people jump on that. She's going to give a bunch of knowledgeable information, free love for all of you. So take the time to be a part of what she's doing. Kelli, thank you. Loved getting to know you better. This has been fantastic. It's been great.
Thank you for what you're doing. This is a fantastic forum for folks.
Oh, I appreciate that so much. So to all of y'all listening, I know you heard something today that flipped your lid. And I also can guarantee you heard some wisdom from Kelli that helped you reconnect to who you really are. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Flip Your Lid with Kim Honeycutt. Please subscribe, rate, and share. You can find Kim on Facebook or Instagram at KBHoneycutt. To get an autographed copy of Kim's book, visit butyourmotherlovesyou.com. Remember, no matter what, treat yourself well today.